Hello everyone, this is Dave from Dave's Recent Things. Today is another request video. I stopped filming and editing midway through Halloween, which by the way is coming up very soon. I stopped filming because this was the number one request for 2024 so far. What I do for all your requests is I have a little notebook, I write it down, and then for every request after that, I put a little check mark beside it. And this particular wreath that I'm going to be doing today was the number one requested wreath so far. It's Halloween coming up, so I totally understand why the number of requests. I actually had to look it up because I wasn't 100% sure what it was all about, but I did find some inspiration. I put my own little Dave's Reese and Things spin on it, and I hope you enjoy it. What am I making today? It is the Witch's Cauldron wreath using the Dollar Tree pumpkin wire wreath frame. Why don't I just get started and I'll show you what I made.
Here is that pumpkin wire frame I was talking about a little bit earlier. I'm also going to be using an old black t-shirt that I had laying around, as well as some 6-inch and 10-inch deco mesh in various colors that I had in my storage. I thought it'd be a great idea to use this excess deco mesh. These witches' legs with little stakes on them, glittery spiders, and then some purple ornaments, some cable ties, pipe cleaners, and of course, I'm going to be using my regular crafting utensils to create this project. I'm going to start off with my pumpkin wire frame and add some pipe cleaners right at those edges where it meets the kind of outside. So there's 6 at the top and 6 at the bottom. And what I'm going to do is, you see I've already attached one on the bottom left, is I'm going to insert the pipe cleaner on one side of the wire and then on the opposite side of the wire as well. So it wraps around that outer wire and that cross wire, and then I'm going to twist it around a couple of times. And that way, as you can see, it's not going to move anywhere. If I just did that one twist, it'll slide all over the place, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to do the exact same thing and attach 6 pipe cleaners. Those are going to be our stems at the bottom. So you see I have the 6 there. I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm going to do the 6 right at the top the exact same way I did the bottoms, just wrapping it around a couple of times and making sure it's nice and secure. And that's our working wreath frame already set up, ready to go, with 6 at the top, 6 at the bottom. I'm also going to take off that wire stem. You don't have to if you totally don't want to. I just decided to take it off, but there was a little bit of really sharp edges, so I'm just going to take some black electrical tape and I'm just going to wrap that around. I love using electrical tape for things like this. You can pull it and stretch it, and it protects your fingers, protects your walls, or wherever you're going to hang this, so it doesn't scratch with those sharp edges that I just created. Now our working wreath frame is ready to go. And I'm going to first start cutting off the back panel of my t-shirt. I just really, you can see how jagged the edges are. I didn't make this a pretty cut at all, making sure that it's going to fit all the way around that wire frame. And then I'm going to flip it over and work on the back side, just getting some hot glue on the wire, working in small sections, and then folding that t-shirt over. And that's all I do, is I put a little bit of glue down, fold the t-shirt over, and just make sure if you're doing this method or following me along that you do not hide those pipe cleaner stems that we just attached. You can kind of see here I'm working around them, bringing the t-shirt in between those and still having those stems exposed. I want those stems exposed. And then when that's all done, I'm just going to trim up the back a little bit, make it a little bit neater. And once I get all the excess trimmed off, I'm just going to go back and hot glue down some of those excess pieces that are sticking up, making it as neat as possible with my hot glue gun. And there we go. We are all ready. So we do have the top and the bottom, and the top portion of this is where you have that little V at the top. And I'm going to start using my black deco mesh. This is a little bit more than a half a roll. I don't know the full measurements of it. I'm sorry. I'm just taking extra rolls from my stash and I'm going to use them today. So this is a 10-inch roll, and I'm pointing right now at that V shape. So that's going to be our top portion where the stem used to be. And I'm also pointing to where I am going to start with our deco mesh. It's going to be the top left-hand corner. And all I'm going to do to start off is I'm just going to unroll that deco mesh a little bit, and then I'm going to gather it together in my fingers right at the edge, squish it together, gather it together nice and tight, and then I'm going to go back to that top left-hand stem, open it up a bit, and then that's where we're going to insert our first deco mesh attachment right there. And we're going to twist it around a couple of times, making sure it's nice and secure. And then I'm going to bring it down to the bottom left. Now, what I want to make sure on the edge is that the deco mesh goes all the way around. So I'm kind of wrapping it around the back, pulling it a little bit tight, but not too tight. And then I'm going to that bottom left-hand stem, and I'm going to wrap that deco mesh right around, keeping it nice and tight. So now I'm going to go back up to the top. So I'm kind of doing a zigzag motion to the next available stem. And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring that deco mesh up. Once I get it nice and secured, I just twist it around a couple of times, and that deco mesh is secured. And we're going to go back and forth from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top, etc., until I have all of that deco mesh laid out and in all of those pipe cleaner stems. And here I'm just finishing off, and you can kind of see I just had the perfect amount of deco mesh left over. I couldn't believe my luck. I was getting a little bit nervous, I'm not gonna lie. But here I am, I'm finished with this. And a little finishing touch I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna wrap a cable tie right around that deco mesh excess. Cut the excess of the cable tie, cut that excess of the deco mesh, and that creates just a little bit more of a finishing touch where we have stopped our deco mesh. You can see here this cut deco mesh right at the beginning is fraying all over the place. I'm going to place that cable tie around, cut off the excess, and it looks a lot neater. And this is our black cauldron all done and ready to decorate. For this deco mesh, I'm cutting 7 inches. Now you can use a ruler, or you can find a cutting mat like I did, which is 7 inches wide, or you can cut a piece of cardboard 7 inches wide to use this technique to cut your deco mesh. This is the 6-inch Dollar Tree deco mesh. All I'm doing is wrapping it around, and then once I finished wrapping it around my cutting mat, I'm going to cut both edges, and you'll see how nice and quick of a cut this is. I'm just going to separate everything for the yellow, and I'm actually going to do the same thing with the orange. Again, these were just random pieces that are leftover deco mesh that I had. And here we go with the green. I'm going to cut it at 8 inches. So all in all, for our deco mesh lengths, I have yellow and orange Dollar Tree deco mesh, which is 6 inches. For the yellow, I cut 10 pieces. For the orange, I cut 22, and those are all at 7 inches. And for the 10-inch deco mesh, the green one, I'm cutting 22 pieces at 8 inches. Now, your numbers may vary depending on the deco mesh you're using and what you have left over. That's what I had, and that's what I'm working with today. And now we're going to create our fire right at the bottom. I'm not being too neat with this. I want it to be kind of crazy and not so neat because it is fire after all, and I wanted to have that fire look. So all I'm really doing with the deco mesh is I'm just taking it and I'm crumpling it up together. Some of them I roll a little bit, but majority of them I'm just crumpling them at the bottom. I'm going from yellow to orange and yellow to orange, and just adding those right into my fingers, and that's creating our first little bundle. Then I'm going to start right in the middle with our fire bundle on the middle pipe cleaner stem, just attaching it just by simply twisting those twist ties together, or pipe cleaners, and then I just move on to my next fire bundle. Again, I'm just kind of squishing it all together. I want it to be random. I want it to be kind of crazy looking. Fire is all over the place, so I kind of wanted to have that effect. If you want, you can roll all of your deco mesh and do the curly loop method. This is how I decided to do mine, but you are more than welcome to do any type of method that you want. Again, once I have finished attaching them, I'm going to come back with my cable tie and do the exact same thing I did with the black deco mesh. wrap that cable tie really, really tight around the deco mesh, and then cut the excess deco mesh off. You see it kind of just really adds that little finishing touch to it. And of course now my fire is all done. I'm just going to fluff it up a bit, and ooh, that's burning hot. Now it comes time to add those witch's legs. And for mine, they had some sort of styrofoam in the middle. And what I decided to do was use 2 cable ties, one attached to the frame, then feed another one through that and wrap it around, but not too tight, such that I can feed those witch's legs right through. So once I fed them through, I'm going to pull them really nice and tight and make sure that's secure, cut off the excess. And for this particular one, I had to do the same method right in the middle because it didn't fit the other side of the pumpkin wreath. So I just kind of attached one to the witch's leg, one to the wreath frame, and then I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue right on that wreath frame so that witch's leg doesn't move anywhere and it's nice and secure with those cable ties. And then I do the exact same thing with 2 cable ties attaching that witch's leg. One is right attached to the frame, the other one is in between the cable tie, and then I can feed that witch leg right through that loop I created. And for this one, I want it to be a little offset to the other one. So I want it to look like, one is a little bit deeper in our cauldron liquid than the other leg. So I decided to push it all the way through, about halfway through. And then I did the same thing using my 2 cable ties, attaching one to the frame and one to the witch's leg stem. Pull them really nice and tight to make sure that they're nice and secured and they're not going to go anywhere. And then we have our nice witch's legs all set up, ready to go. I love these witch's legs. They're so much fun. Look at that. And I love how I did the different levels. You can do the same level if you want, or you can do different levels like I did here. It's totally up to you. For our little potion mix in our cauldron, I'm using this green deco mesh. And all I'm really going to do is a simple ruffle method for this, just laying it flat, gathering it together right at the middle. For the first one, or all of them, you can use a clothespin if you want. I prefer to use my fingers, but if you want to use clothespins, just do that as well. I usually put my deco mesh right in between my fingers and keep working. I find it works for me. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to layer those ruffles together. And then once that's all layered, I find the middle, find that open stem, and I just attach it by twisting it a couple of times, making sure it's nice and secure. I'm going to cut off the excess at this point because I'm not going to use these stems anymore. And then I keep going on using that ruffle method to add all of my potion deco mesh onto the top there, right where the witches are falling in. Or I should say the witch. There's only one witch. She has 2 legs. And if you want, you can add a little bit of hot glue on those pipe cleaner stems once you finish them off. I like to do that. And if you want, you can see there, I just did the curly method, mixing it with the ruffle method. You can do, again, like I said, with the fire, any method that you want. I kind of mix the curly method with the ruffle method. I like the combination of the two, and it adds a little bit of interest to your wreath as well. Our fire is done, our little potion is done, the cauldron is done, those witches' legs are right there, and now it's time to add all of our little embellishments. So I have those glittery spiders. I'm only going to use one of them, and I'm also going to use those purple ornaments, just kind of place them around everywhere. It looks like it's kind of spilling over, that potion is spilling over, and once everything's glued down, nice and dry, we have our witch's cauldron wreath with that witch kind of swimming in or falling into her potion, that green potion with the purple bubbles, our black cauldron, and of course the fire right at the bottom, and that creepy little glittery spider. I mean, really, how creepy can a glittery spider be, right? Here's the final result hanging on my studio door, and this just makes me smile, and I hope it makes you smile as well. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching my video today. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be notified whenever I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye for now.